to be able to grow your business. So first up, we're going to have Ndubuisi Ekekwe, who is an entrepreneur, professor, and has written for the Harvard Business Review. He's going to talk a lot about building on numbers and the future and the role of technology. Fope? Ndubuisi?
Okay, thank you so much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Just to confirm that I'm audible here, please. Will you just confirm?
We can hear you, Ndubuisi.
Okay, great. And also, if it's possible, please, could you give me access to share my slide? Okay, great. It's already there. Okay. So thank you so much, ABH, for inviting me to have this conversation on technology. Of course, I have been asked to speak about what technology is doing and the promises of new technologies in the ordinance, the African economy. And I've titled it Building on Numbers for the African Time. The construct here is that technology is helping us to return back from where everything all started. And it comes back to that understanding that the world is nothing but numbers. So I'll take you back to your secondary school. I recall vividly when my teacher was introducing me to secondary school in physics, he gave us an explanation of natural philosophy. And in that conversation, he explained something magical. What is this world made of? What is the composition of the whole universe? So during that, he explained that Thales said that the world is made up of water. He also postulated that Pythagoras said that the world is made up of numbers. In other words, for Pythagoras, the guy that gave us the Pythagoras theorem, he said that everything we do on earth is nothing but numbers. In other words, if everything we do on earth is nothing but numbers, it means that the business of humanity is nothing but the business of computing, processing, manipulating, and making things out of numbers. The business of medicine is understanding the numbers of health. The business of investing is understanding the numbers around companies. The business of finance is understanding the numbers around finance. The business of education is also understanding how numbers can improve and accelerate the capacity for people to acquire new knowledge, deploy that new knowledge, apply that knowledge, and advance the wealth of communities. So for us as a people today, the question is this: if the world is made up of numbers, how can we connect into that postulation of Pythagoras and then see that opportunity to connect into the time of technology? So for us to do that, I take you into one fascinating construct. Why do we even have this thing they call companies? Why do we have to go and establish companies? Why are we entrepreneurs in Africa? Why are all of us starting companies and pursuing that mission of going into businesses to explore opportunities in the market system? So it comes down to one thing. Market systems are imperfect because of what they call information asymmetry. So for instance, I just landed in the city of Lagos and I don't have a family member who can give me food. Assume that I can find somebody who can give me food to eat. What do I have to do? I have to begin knocking at every door in Lagos looking for somebody who has food to sell. As I'm knocking at that door in Lagos, there is also the propensity that I can knock on the first 100 doors and no one will have food for me. But at the same time, somebody has food. He or she wants to sell, but I can't find that individual. So what happens? I can't find food to buy. The person who has food to sell cannot find me, cannot discover me. So one afternoon, a young lady wakes up in the morning and I say, I'm going to start a company, and that company is called ABC Restaurant. That ABC Restaurant now offers something to the market, which is make food, cook food. And by cooking that food, anytime Ndubuisi is hungry, I do not have to go and be knocking at people's door. What has happened here is that that ABC Restaurant, a company has fixed a friction, which is evident in the market. So in other words, every company in this world exists to solve a specific market friction. A market friction is a need that is evident in the market. A market friction is a problem that the customers have. And only companies have the capacity to overcome those frictions. Only companies have the capacity to provide services, provide products that can overcome market friction. So the question becomes, if companies exist in order to overcome frictions which are evident in markets, you can extrapolate that if you understand what these problems are, you have a better chance of actually creating a better product, a better service that can actually solve that problem. So that is where the power of numbers becomes very critical. That is where, if you look at everything you are doing in business, you are actually processing number to make decisions. And the more you have access to the right number, the better you are positioned to create an alignment between the needs of the market and the products and services that you are offering to the market. The same thing I have just explained in restaurants is also the same thing that happens when you go to banking. Somebody has $1,000. He doesn't know what to do with that $1,000, but he wants to give it to somebody who can pay him, let's say 10% interest rate. But he can't find that individual because of information asymmetry. So there is somebody that needs that 1,000, but that 1,000 person cannot find somebody who has 1,000. So what happens? There is a vacuum, and someone has to start a bank. And that bank becomes a company, which is now in existence to solve that information asymmetry problem that exists between demand and supply. And now the man who has the 1,000 takes it to the bank pays that percent interest rate. And the person who needs that 1,000 goes to the bank now charges maybe 17%. That delta of 7% is the force, is the cost the bank has imposed in the system for helping to overcome that friction which existed between the lender and the person who is actually borrowing. So that is what banking. And if you go through every aspect of humans, every aspect of our human being, every industrial sector, every industrial domains, this is exactly what companies do. So let me now take it into this whole concept that if companies exist to solve problems which are evident in the markets, the fascinating thing, extrapolating from the hypothesis of Pythagoras, is that if we understand the numbers around markets, if we understand the numbers about our customers, if we understand the numbers around supply, around demand, we have a better chance of actually building products and services. We can actually create a better alignment to what the market needs and what we actually deliver. So it comes down to understanding these frictions through the angle of numbers. Of course, when we are talking about numbers today, we are actually talking about data. I mean, that is a modern incantation of that word. So you're talking about data. How can data help you to understand everything we're doing in business? Because the fact is this, that you have seen a market need does not necessarily mean that you have the capacity to actually go and fix that market need. You need to have what I call capabilities. What are your capabilities as an African entrepreneur? What is it that makes you different from every other entrepreneur? What are the things that you are taking into the marketplace to build products and services that can actually go and overcome those frictions which are evident in the market? If you go back to your secondary school economics, you remember those things they used to teach us. They talk about entrepreneurial capitalism, they talk about land, they talk about capital, they talk about labor. You need to combine all these factors of production so that you can create products and services which can now be deployed to overcome the frictions which are evident in the market. Knowledge turns out to be an addition. There can never be a great company that does not have the capacity to create knowledge. There can never be a great company that does not have the capacity to apply knowledge. So knowledge becomes very critical because in our time today, we are living in a time they call the knowledge economy, because knowledge becomes the instrument upon which that decision-making will be deployed. So you need to have that knowledge. And if you go through human history, it has always been like that. The best thing about America today is because they have some of the finest universities in the world. They have the capacity to renew the American economic system because they can create new knowledge. As Harvard, MIT, Johns Hopkins, Princeton University, Stanford University, they continue to create new things. The same thing when you go to China, they also have great universities. So there can never be a greater nation that have never built the capacity to create knowledge. The same thing is applicable in companies. If you do not have an ability to create knowledge in your company, you certainly cannot be a category king. If you do not have the capacity to create new knowledge systems to drive your products and services, you can never be a category king. Because across human history, knowledge has always been very, very great. If you go back to the Bible, they say that when Moses appeared before the Israelites, that they marveled because he has studied under the Pharaohs. What was happening there, that the best educational system in the world was in Egypt. And Moses had an opportunity of studying under the Pharaohs. They had the best astrologers. They had the best thinkers, and Egypt ruled the world. And that is what is happening today. The best university systems in the world define the capacity of nations to renew their economic systems and advance. Don't talk just about the nations. Look at companies. Look at companies like Microsoft. Look at companies like Alibaba. Look at companies like Google. Look at companies like Facebook. These are knowledge systems operating as companies, and they continue to create new products and services that advance the wealth and prosperity of nations where they are located. So if we want to rise as a people in Africa, the question here is how are we going to bring that entrepreneurial capitalism with an abundant knowledge system that can help us to create products and services that are going to help us to overcome the frictions which are evident in our communities. When you bring that knowledge, you have that boldness as a risk taker. Capital, just like Fobe and Yin just explained, these things now give you the rockets, fuel, to help you propel to go down to the mountaintop. And as that is happening, the society gives you the manpower, the labor. These are going to become agents that will follow you. And then one of you can now rise to create that economic system. So when you now look into, you are building that system, you're creating that ecosystem, you're bringing those factors of production together, having the capacity to overcome and solve problems in the society goes back to understanding what the problems are. And just like Pythagoras has postulated that if everything in the world is nothing but numbers, it means that technology systems that make it possible for you to understand the numbers around your market is going to be very critical. The best thing that is happening in the world today is when you look at technology systems, they call cloud computing. Look at technology systems, they call big data analytics. Look at technology systems that are artificial intelligence, blockchain, and mobile. What is happening here is simple. These are technology nexus that are making it possible for every one of us in market system to go back and reconnect easily, going back to that postulation by Pythagoras, that if we can have better insights about markets, we have a better chance of going after the frictions that customers have. With cloud computing, you have largely an unlimited capacity to process data. And if that data systems become advanced, you have a better insight about your customer. And because you do not have to buy physical servers, you do not have to be renting them, or renting real estate to open up more server systems. You can just rent them with your credit card or debit card. It means that you have the capacity to see your customers at a deeper level. So that is the reason why you go online, put your name, put your identification number, and somebody says, we can give you a loan of $1,000. What is happening here is that computational systems have advanced because cloud computing has actually made it possible that information processing that would not have been possible for most of us, we can just use a credit card and get access to it. So the more these systems advance, the more the postulation of numbers, understanding our customers, understanding our market will continue to accelerate. And if that is the case, it means that great things will happen. And then as that cloud computing is provided, there you also have this construct of artificial intelligence, giving machines the opportunity that they can even do more than what you've actually asked them to do. The implication of that is that everything is going towards that roadmap. How do we understand the world we live? How do we build on numbers? And how can we have better perspectives about our market systems, about our customers, about our partners. These are machine systems. These are technology systems. These are elements in the domains that are helping us to make sense of that. So what I'm trying to say is this: if you are building and you are not taking advantage of using technology systems that can make it possible for you to understand the numbers around your markets, you are doing a guesswork. Unfortunately, today in most parts of Africa, people are still involved in guesswork at the government level, at the entrepreneurial level, because you do not want systems that can actually help you understand the problems that you are trying to solve. If the world is nothing but numbers, the person who makes sense of numbers better will have a very superior competitive advantage. And that is the reason why great companies in the world are visitors, are agents of numbers. They have better understanding of numbers, and that's why they are outperforming others. And as you do that, there are also new evolutions like blockchain. We like the numbers, but can we trust the numbers? Can we believe in the numbers? So people are building trust systems that is not just about the numbers, but our capacity to also believe and have confidence in those numbers. These things are going to change the world as we know them. These things are going to create a new basis of competition. These things are going to create leverageable factors that are going to accelerate and compound, creating a very massive impact in the world that we know today. These things are powered by technology, and we have seen them happening across market systems. If you go into education, there's one company in India, they call it ABH. I think they say this company is worth about $24 billion. It's an educational technology company. And what they have built there is that they have brought this constellation of these new technology systems, making it easier that the numbers about how children and kids can improve their educational attainment, they have figured it out. If you use the number of a little boy, if you understand the number of a little girl, you can actually educate, train him in a way that he or she can be ready for the world. The same thing happens in healthcare systems. You know, people are building all kinds of DNA systems, all kinds of genomic systems, because they are trying also to make it easier for them to understand the numbers around healthcare. How do you cure people? How do you treat people? It comes down to understanding the numbers around those particular individuals. You know, I build microprocessors. And one of the microprocessors we build is called neuromorphic system. Neuromorphic system is a kind of microprocessor that where you emulate human biology. You look into the central nervous system, you go into silicon, and you create event-driven synchronous parallelism central nervous system. In other words, you want to take the human central nervous system on silicon. One of the things we do is to go back to biology, go back to human anatomy, to understand what is it that makes up a man? What is it that makes up a woman? Because if you can understand everything about human, perhaps maybe 100 years, if you do not like your brain, you could go to Amazon.com and buy a new. If you don't like anything about you, you could go to eBay and order a new. You could go to Alibaba.com and buy a new one. Because we will be in a position that all these things can easily be recreated on silicon and made available that you can go to Alibaba and shop for a new brain, for a new cochlea, for a new retina, just like that. So how are we going to get there? It means we have to understand the numbers of human system. And understanding the numbers of human system means we need to work on the data of the system. So we are going to see new changes in agriculture. We're going to see new evolution in energy. We're going to see new domains in digital commerce. Just like when we talk about e-commerce, you see that what e-commerce does far better than ordinary open market system in Africa. E-commerce understands the customer. Because you understand the customer, it makes it possible to deliver value to the customer at a better point that the customer would have received if that system didn't understand the customer. So my point for all of us today is build that future today. And building that future today will require going back to making sense of the numbers around your business. Do not do what most governments do in Africa, which is guesswork. We tried this thing for 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, it doesn't work. We try another one. And even when it's working, we don't even know that it's working. So we stopped something that was working. So the question here is that if you look through the GDPs in the world over the last 2,000 years, I'm just rounding up here so that we go into question and answer, you see that Africa has not been represented. And the reason why Africa has not been represented is that we have not participated to a large extent in that evolutionary process, having the capacity to solve problems in a more dynamic, streamlined fashion. So we have our folklores, we have our old axioms, but at the end of the day, there's no structure. And if you look at this plot, you can see how China is rising and also see what is going on. And in this particular one, which I published in Harvard, one of the things you see here is that for more than 1,500 years from AD 0, you see that China and United States GDPs were flat. But after a period of time, just about 500 years ago from today, going backward, you see that their GDP started moving exponentially. What is happening here is that at a time period like this, they were not driving innovation society. And they were not running a society that was actually using numbers to drive prosperity. So what happened there was man, of course, woman, everyone was poor. Because if population was growing when GDP was frozen, the implication is that per capita income was decelerating. And the per capita income decelerating means that human standard of living was dropping. So what is happening here is that these nations, they are the two dominant economic systems. So I just use only China, United States here. But the point I'm making here is this. In Africa today, our economic system is largely where they are. These nations were many, many centuries ago. So we need to find that vista to move into that exponential growth so that we can have the opportunity of taking care of young people. This should be my last slide. So as that happens, COVID came. Now that COVID came, there is a massive redesign. Interestingly, the companies that won during the lockdown were companies that were built on data. They were the companies that were built on those data systems, which Pythagoras postulated that is made of nothing but numbers. So we are seeing a world where remote everything. We're having this conversation through remote system. We're also seeing a world where there is semi-automation. We want to find a mechanism how you can build your technology or your company to have some level of automation. We're also seeing how you have to build digitization as a critical enabler of everything you do in your business. In short, every company today should be a digital business because at the end of it, the world is going to have a stable final state on the web and the digital space. So no matter what you're doing, you need to have an element of digitization. And then, of course, you need to look at your supply chain. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to say here today is that there is abundance in Africa's future. And our capacity to unlock that abundance will require that we go back to the numbers around Africa. If we understand the numbers around Africa as a people, we can build better companies, we can advance the prosperity of our people, and we can take all, not just some few of us, into the mountaintop. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for all of that insight. People in the chat room are very excited and are very grateful for all of the information that you have shared. And I think some of the main points that you mentioned really is about how important data is and how important knowing your numbers is. And you said that everything that we have is really built on numbers. One of the few lines that you mentioned at the end was around how the businesses that thrived during the pandemic were businesses that were built on data. So it's very important to do that. An incredible theme has been happening throughout this meeting today, which is around understanding your market. Without numbers, without knowing your numbers, you can't know your market without knowing who is available to buy your product. you can't have a business and you won't know your market. So thank you so very much, Professor, for that. I see your questions coming in the chat room. Please send them through, continue to send them through. At the end of all of the presentations that we have, I'll be able to ask all of those questions to the speakers, including Prof. Thank you, Prof, for that. And now we're going to move on to another incredible speaker during the session, which talks about technology and the importance of technology in growing businesses and in turn growing the continent. We are going to hear from Phillip Liu, who is the general manager at Alibaba Cloud, Middle Eastern Africa. He's going to talk to us more around the digital economy and talk to us about how we should transform our businesses with technology and innovation, especially on the cloud. Phillip, welcome.
Hi, thank you very much. Thank you. Let me share my screen so I can interpret my concept clear. So guys, you hear me and see the screen as well? Yeah?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Frankly speaking, I really enjoyed the lecture delivered by Professor in the last session. I think that makes technology evolution into a philosophy level, right? So basically myself is a techie guy. I am working in the ICT industry in my last 15 years of career. So today my session is more going to share with you how as a startup you could benefit from cloud technologies. Because I think everything is moving very fast, and from different perspective, cloud itself really looks very much different compared to 10 years or 12, 15 years ago when Alibaba even started this business. So let me project the screen, okay. So where do I come from, right? So I think everybody mentioned about Alibaba, and the professor also mentioned about Alibaba, but actually if you look at the landscape of Alibaba today, is really massive because we have almost more than 32 businesses under Alibaba Group. And Alibaba Cloud actually is the bottom backbone of the whole businesses. So from the first day, Jack Ma started Alibaba.com as just a yellow page using internet, then we have started our evolution all the way along. And 12 years ago, when we started Alibaba Cloud, that is the moment we decided how technology is going to matter to our business. There's a very famous saying within my knowledge saying that the business always starts with a great idea, but the business only scale and outperform with a great technology. Because when you have that knowledge and when you have that technology, that will enable you to have a greater vision of how you can go and how much you can innovate. So one of the typical example I want to illustrate today is how in the last 12 years, since Alibaba decided to move to cloud, how much we have been benefited from the cloud and how much we have transformed into the cloud. If you look at one of the best iconic figures we have in the we call Double 11 Shopping Festival invented by Alibaba, we are managed to make a GMV of $38.3 billion within one day. 24 hours. And we are able to handle and deliver 1.3 billion orders within 24 hours as well. So this is a significant number, looks massive, but underneath is how we use 100% cloud to support the whole business. And what is the big data behind this to process the massive size of transactions and data, and how we do real-time computing to ensure that all the data is being recorded and then being reflected in real time. And also the logistics we are going to enable, because we are talking about delivering 1.4 billion packages within one day. And also the AI we're using. Today, I think there's one typical cases we're talking about in Africa, e-commerce. In Alibaba, we use a lot of AI technology to do very much personalized recommendation for every consumer. And we also use voice recognition to deliver new shopping experiences. And we are talking about cross-continental customers. The platform itself can support 21 languages using AI, not by manual translation or any translators, right? And also the customer service actually is being handled by chatbots instead of a human being. So this is how technology helps us to deliver such a scale of business. And without cloud and without technology we're talking about here, this number can never be reached. And we are become technological freedom with the capability we have. So what is cloud today, right? I think today cloud is really very different. I think of when the first cloud computing idea being introduced to this industry, people are talking about how we are going to centralize the infrastructure. Infrastructure as a service is the origin of cloud, but time today is 2021. I think the cloud, it becomes very diversity and it can become very comprehensive. We're talking about the one stop for all services. That is the cloud, how cloud is looking at right now. If you go to top players like Alibaba, Amazon, Google, or Microsoft, you see more than 500 or even 1,000 classes of services available in the cloud. From infrastructure, we're talking about computing, networking, storage, hybrid cloud, to database, to big data, to AI, and we also have software as services like Siemens, SAP, Salesforce. Even on top of that, today, we have something called BaaS, which is business as a service, which means that we incorporate the ecosystem into the cloud. So instead of just technological collaboration, we also onboard a lot of industry players into the cloud. So you can reach your partner to the cloud ecosystem. So the cloud today is become very comprehensive. It's a one-stop for all the entrepreneurs from SME to enterprise or even to government. So what is the approach? We're talking about transformation with cloud. I think in our understanding, in Alibaba's experience, we go to 3 phases from the bare metal age to today. So in phase 1, we're talking about how we could move our business into the cloud. In this phase, I think the major drive should be cost. I think later I will explain why. Then in second phase, once we are 100% or majority of our workload is on the cloud, then we start to transform because of the comprehensive offering from the cloud and because of the strong capability of the cloud, we start to transform our business with high efficiency. How we can improve the efficiency of my business in terms of go-to-market speed, in terms of operation cost effectiveness, in terms of security. Then in the last phase, we're talking about how we can transform cloud from an infrastructure, from a technical capability into a business innovation. So in the last phase, we will innovate with cloud. With cloud, you can create more businesses, you can enrich your portfolio to an end user, and that will generate basically the business value to your own. So in phase 1, okay, in phase 1, we're talking about moving to the cloud. So what you are going to see the changes, right? From the bare metal ages, when I was started my job, I still see that we work in a small company. We have a rack in one of the tea room, laundries, and the engineers is going there fixing on and off the servers. That time is past. I think that is the time that we don't have a strong cloud offering in the market. So once you move from that on-premise bare metal and massive, difficult to manage infrastructure to a cloud, actually you are going to a much more reliable infrastructure. If you go to most of the cloud service provider today, I think the SLA is offering is more than 95%, which means you face a very minimum downtime because of the sizing and the scale of the cloud service provider. They have a professional team which is managing everything for you. Then when you transform into cloud, it also means that your commercial model change. In the previous model, you need to invest one time plus warranty. It's like a one-time investment. It's very difficult to change, take a long time to upgrade. You go into a very flexible payment plan. You can decide to pay by hour, you can decide to pay by month, or even pay by year. You can easily add your CPU, you can easily reduce your memory, you can even add more disk, just at one click, just in a few seconds. So that will make yourself into a much more flexible situation in terms of cost management and in terms of capability configuration management. The last one is very important that, you know, when we're running a business, you always see that there's a peak hour and also the bottom hours, right? So in the peak hours, you will see a very high spike on traffic, but this high spike may only last for 30% of the whole time. So how you do the capacity planning? In the previous time, what we do is we always ensure that the infrastructure we purchase should be able to accommodate the highest traffic. But the problem is, once we pass that 30% of period within the day, the utilization of the infrastructure is very low, which means your investment is actually not being utilized. So that will become a problem. So you will go to an over-investment situation. But when you go to cloud, I think one of the nature of cloud is elasticity, right? So you always pay as per whatever you use. In the peak hour, you use double the resource, you pay for that for 3 hours only. But once you drop back to normal hours, you pay at a normal rate. So that will give you a very elastic capacity planning. And in the end, it's all convert to cost saving. So one more tips, right? So as a startup, I can see that when you move to cloud today, most of the cloud service providers, they have a startup plan, or some of the incubators also work with the cloud service provider to give you a lot of packages. So you can always go to the cloud service provider to find the startup plan. So normally you will get sponsored by voucher or a very low cost server and storage or networking. So that will help you to run your business or start your business at a minimum cost. And once you reach to a certain stage, you have the user, you have the revenue, you have the funding, then you can go to a more stronger capacity planning, right? So one of the cases I'm trying to put here is, even though this is not a startup, but we can see that the massive saving to migrating from traditional IT to cloud, even like Philips, they have a saving up to 54% of the IT operation cost. This is really significant. And all this investment can be put into your R&D, can be put into your operation, put into your customer services, and also put into business development. So that will make yourself more focused and concentrated on your business itself, instead of taking care of the complicated infrastructure. Then in phase 2, once we are in the cloud, so we should look at how the cloud could also help us to improve the efficiency. This is the transform stage we're talking about. Then here I'm illustrating about 3 technologies I think all the startups should learn from. The first one is the container services. I think container services is a service that make your development environment very much portable, right? Because you will see that during the development of your stage, you may move from different environment or even from one cloud to another cloud. And also when you deploy your services, you will need to do a lot of environmental configuration. But when you go to cloud container services, everything is packaged and isolated into a container. So you can easily port over this container into different environment, and all the configuration is actually also encapsulated into the container. So that will make it very easy for you to move or deploy your services. The second is DevOps, right? I think many years ago, most of the companies before adopting cloud, we have a clear boundary. I have a software development team, I have an operation team. Operation team guys handle the hardware. Then the software development team tell the operation guys, please give me how many CPUs, what's the memory, and I need to deploy that, prepare the operating system for us, right? But today we are entering into a DevOps age. DevOps age means the development and operation, the boundary become very lean or become not as clear before. So which means, especially the technology we call Terraform. When Terraform comes to the market, this open source framework actually transformed the whole way of managing infrastructure. So today we're talking about managing infrastructure as coding, which means developers is able to manage all the infrastructure through programming instead of relying on the operation team to handle the hardware. So this will also make the efficiencies much higher, right? So that's the second point. The last one is security. I think security for us, when we talk a lot of startup, actually they are not too much care about security, but I always tell them that security is like an insurance. When nothing happens, you don't see how important that is. But when disaster happens, security really saves you. So especially when your business grows and when you are handling a lot of customer data, transaction data, it's very important that ensure certain security mechanism is in place to protect that asset. That is really important. Yeah. One of the cases I have here is one of the top leading e-wallets in Indonesia. By adopting container services and DevOps, they can deliver a version with a completely doubled feature within a few weeks, 1 to 2 weeks. because they can easily accumulate the version, and this no complication in terms of deploy the services, and also the operation, the infrastructure can be directly managed by the developer themselves. So the efficiency is much higher. So which means for us, I mean, in my understanding, efficiency means go to market. If you can deliver 3 versions within 1 month, and your competitor only deliver 1 version, which means you are much faster and you are much more efficient and much more ahead and closer to your customers' needs. Then the last phase, we'll talk about innovation on cloud. I think today, the professor also mentioned some of the trends. I think most of the innovation today is following 4 directions we're talking about. The first one is cloud. How we can leverage the reliable services and easy to use cloud to manage our infrastructure in a flexible way. The second is digitalization. We're specifically talking about big data intelligence, because today, I think data is value, right? There's a one word very popular right now, it's called data monetization. How we can monetize the data as a asset, because as long as you launch your service from day one, you start to receive a lot of data. You start to accumulate data. Instead of leaving the data sleeping in a database or in your storage or the disk, are you actually digging into those data and explore what are the values you can actually find out from there? I think that is where big data and AI or intelligence matters. So we can build a lot of business cases from the data actually hosted by us. Then IoT, I think especially when we go to 5G, we know that IoT actually means everything. We want to manage, connect everything, people, device, or even object. So IoT is going to become one of the key infrastructure that will enable cloud and the terminal. Because between the cloud and terminal, there's a network. But the IoT network actually allows the cloud to manage all the terminals, to abstract all the data. And then from there, we can build intelligence, we can build more friendly customer services, and also how to make decisions. The last one is mobile. This world is moving to mobile. I think especially after COVID, we noticed that those officers, those people stay home, people work on the laptop, work on the phones. The teleconference right now we're having, actually we are not physically meeting each other, but we can talk to each other through mobile. So how we can embrace this mobile era? We can ensure that the service you are publishing to the market is actually leveraging the mobile capability and also maximizing the mobile collaboration power. That's very important. I'm going to give 2 cases I think it's going to be very useful for Africa. It's on agriculture. One of the cases I'm talking about here is in China. There's this company, actually they started as a startup. They built one system called smart farming system, right? So because in traditional Chinese, we are a very big agricultural country, but actually most of the farmers at the countryside, they depend on experience, right? They learn from the father learned from the grandfather. So they know that which days, what they should do. But actually, when you go to the young age, this kind of knowledge is actually very difficult to be inherited. So this company, they built a system who have built a massive database to include all the knowledges about the land, about the plant, about the planting techniques. So the farmers, no matter which age you are, you can just go to the system, put your location, then the system is able to tell you for this piece of land, what kind of plant you should grow. And on different time, based on the time and the climate, you will receive a pop-up or notification in your mobile phone saying that, okay, for your eggplant, now, today, or within a week, you should give how much water, what kind of fertilizer you should put over there, and what you should expect from the growth progress, right? So by doing this, I think we are trying to use technology to carry the knowledge across generation. And this is actually managed centralized in a scientific way. It's not by experience, it's not by knowledge, it's not by memory, right? So by doing this, I think, first of all, the cost saving is massive because by doing this, we have reduced a lot of wasting or mistake in terms of managing the land and the grants. So the saving actually converting into profit and the revenue to the farmers. The second one is a different scenario, which means in China, food security become one of the hottest topics. People always want to know that whichever vegetable or fruit I'm buying, is it really managed in a proper way, right? Is it organic? Is it still not expired yet? So this company we're talking about is focused on melon planting. So they have implemented a system based on blockchain. They attach an ID card to each of the melon they have manufactured, they have produced, basically. So as a consumer or any logistic or supplier or distributor, you can just use a mobile phone to scan the ID card. Then you will be able to track, you are able to retrieve the whole information about this melon, from the time the seed is being planted and how frequent it's being watered, and when this melon is being picked, right? And what are the fertilizers they are using, and does it have enough sunlight or not? Every information is being managed under this ID card. So by doing this, what's the benefit of that, right? Because for those customers or consumer who is looking for high quality product, they are willing to pay triple price compared to a normal melon without the transparency of information. So this is also how we leverage technology in agricultural domain to remove the gap of generation, and also how we can maximize or increase the value of the agricultural product. So this is the innovation I'm going to elaborate here, but of course there's a lot more innovations we can do based on cloud, because whatever technology I'm talking about here, blockchain, right, database, big data, is all based on cloud. The last ones we should not skip, we should not forget is today, cloud itself is actually an online ecosystem. For example, if you want to access to SAP, today you don't need to go to SAP website. You don't need to contact any local distributor of SAP. You go to the cloud service provider, you can click on the SAP product you want, then you can deploy the SAP onto the cloud by one click, which means you are enjoying a whole ecosystem. Whatever software you have in mind, majority of them today is actually existing in the marketplace of any of the cloud service provider. So you can also enjoy the ecosystem softwares resides on the cloud, and that will become part of your innovation, and that will become part of your capabilities. So that's basically how cloud is going to help startups and also for enterprise and the government. I think it's going to be the era cloud is going to transform continuously. More and more workload is going to be accumulated into the cloud. And the next era we are going to see is the data. I think once all the information application has been aggregated into the cloud, the power of data is going to decide how your business is going to look like. So I'm happy to see all the startups from Africa to embrace cloud, to catch up how cloud can help your business, and also you can start learning or accumulating your capability in terms of data monetization. Thank you very much. That's my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that, Lu. You know, Mr. Lu, it's very important, the kind of things that you mentioned during your presentation there. I mean, he's telling us to embrace the cloud because it's important. This has been like a crash course in understanding the cloud and what you can do with your business through the cloud. So thank you for that. And if you're listening, I mean, if they could do 1.3 billion orders on November 11, like that's in one day, and it's because of technology features that the business has, it means that it's possible and you'll be able to scale your business. You know, you don't have orders going under or that you're missing because you're not sure who ordered what and what's happening. So automation is very key and using technology is key. Some of the many things that you mentioned that I really liked included moving the business into the cloud in a cost-effective way, and making sure that it improves efficiency and that you become more innovative within your business. I see that on the chat session, a lot of people are talking about how they can be more innovative and how they can use all of this data. And I think between you and Professor, you guys have mentioned a lot how important data is and numbers are. So we're going to get into all of those questions after our last speaker who's coming just up, who is Tapera Mushoriwa, who is the Chief Operating Officer and Group Head Digital Banking at Cassava FinTech International. He's also going to talk to us about technology, because this session is about It's Technology Time. Don't forget to use any of the hashtags that we have, like hashtag It's African Time, if you are using any social media platforms to carry this conversation forward. Mr. Mushoriwa, I can't wait to hear what presentation to be about, because you're going to talk to us about digital applications for SMEs. Some people were asking, what should I use? How do I go about it? So over to you.
Thank you so much, Ancillar. Thank you so much, Ancillar, and great presentations from Prof and Philip. So let me just share my screen, and whilst I'm doing that, I'd like to say hello to everyone because it's safer that way, given the different time zones. You can confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'd like to start by a brief introduction about myself. I've been in the digital and fintech space, or largely previously digital banking, now commonly known as fintech, for over the past 15 years. I've worked in a couple of markets here in Africa, West Africa, and also in Asia. And I'm very passionate about this space, and you will see why as we get into the presentation. So I work for an organization which is named Cassava FinTech. Cassava FinTech covers facets such as agri-tech, health tech, edutech, bank tech, insurtech, and you can type on the website www.cassavafintech, and I know that most of you are covered within those particular facets, and actually learn more about how these type of organizations and fintechs can help power your business. But moving on into my presentation, I'd like to start with highlighting some needs of an SME, which digital can address. A case study is Amaka. Would like to meet Amaka. Amaka is an entrepreneur in the agriculture sector. She trades in agricultural equipment and machinery. She recently started the business, and typically her two main problems are: one, cash flow, because funds are already committed into the operations, and the second one is she wears many hats. So on a given time, she's the CEO. 2 hours later, she's the CFO. And by tonight, she could be the head of HR. Tomorrow morning, she could be the head of sales. So whilst she has set up a small premises for a company, most of the time she spends it traveling in the farms to actually engage, the customers, meet up with the agricultural value chain players. And because of this, she needs to understand her business on the go. She needs to be informed to be able to manage a business. But Amaka's story is the story for many, whether you are in education, in health, and so forth. Most of the things that you would want to know for your business is have a pulse on your value chain activities, the project, the tasks that your teams are doing. You'd want to also have your fingertips on what's happening on the operational landscape. I did hear in earlier sessions, the likes of, Fope speak about the need to continuously be close to your market, understand what's happening in your market. You'd also want to know what's happening within, of course, your organization in terms of, your employees, the process they follow. But meanwhile, Amaka is out there somewhere 200 k's away at a particular farm trying to sell some of her equipment. So there are things that she also needs to know before she goes to bed. She needs to know how her business has performed on the particular day. She needs to know to what extent her team has achieved the task for the day. She also needs to understand what the customer engagements and issues have been for today in order to reposition her company on a day-to-day basis. So, however, if for all these things, Amaka and her team require to manage the business effectively, and she requires to manage a business on the go, what should she do? We believe there's an app for that. So according to research and insight by the likes of World Bank, Forbes, and entrepreneur.com, some of the major reasons for SMEs to fail or why they fail. And here I narrowed my focus and excluded the typical issues such as access to credit and focused on the items that are relevant to this particular topic. And issues such as lack of planning come out at the top, limited tracking of finance, poor management of business. Most of the processes are in the head, or when the entrepreneur is in the field, business continuity or visibility to the business is limited, and of course limited knowledge of the operating environment, because there's a plethora of information being thrown to the entrepreneur. However, SMEs do not have to fail, because as highlighted, and these reasons that are being shared, there is an app that can address that. I keep saying there's an app for that. There is need to unpack this. And I liked how Prof spoke about the numbers and everything emanating from Pythagoras' theorem. And it was exciting because, I majored in mathematics. Again, the numbers, when we look on the African landscape, they present an enormous opportunity for us. For example, Africa has got 1 billion people. It's got 1 billion SIM cards. We know that the smartphone and internet penetration may not be at global benchmarks, but over the past few years, it has propelled. And with the likes of GSMA, focusing for this to grow above 40% by the time it's 2025. Even within our group, we've partnered with Liquid Telecoms, and we're rolling out a product called Sasai Wi-Fi Finder, which is now active in Kenya and expected to be rolled out across Africa through the year. It provides affordable and accessible internet Wi-Fi. We also know that 500 million of smartphone users will exist by 2025. We already know that 500 million people have got mobile money wallets. And this is all against a 5 trillion GDP African cake. We know that all territories, including Africa, have got their own problems. But we believe that these numbers and indicators show how ripe Africa is. So with increased economic muscle, internet penetration, and mobile payments on the rise, where will the customer, who is the paymaster to us all, be? Where do they exist? The customer and communities now exist online. It is interesting to know that people now spend more time on the mobile than on TV, even if they are quarantined with COVID restrictions in their house. So businesses have to go to the digital economy and engage. As a business, you need to know where your attention economy is spending their time, the various application categories they're utilizing, and get involved. It is interesting, if you look at the bottom left graph, that business applications are actually amongst the most sought applications in 2021. And it would make sense with the rise and increase in entrepreneurs, such as content creators. On the table to the right at the bottom, you'll see that according to Web App Market, the most trending business apps are centered around productivity and efficiency. I did hear Phillip speak about, the need for efficiency, especially, leveraging of cloud, where you already get security, you already get low cost, and it allows you to be more productive with your business. So whatever your operations are, there is an app for that. Here are some of the apps that may be popular globally. But the first part I wanted to start with is to connect the SME challenges I highlighted before, or reasons for failure, and synthesize those reasons and the needs from Amaka with what is available in the operating landscape. I think the key considerations that we would all have as entrepreneurs on the continent would be the cost of the application, the value it adds to your business, the ability to use this application on the go, and most importantly, it must just be simple to use. Most entrepreneurs are busy trying to understand their business and do not have time to start understanding an application. So in this case, my recommendations are broken into 5 facets. First of all, I believe that your business would need a project manager, and your project manager would help you to understand the tasks, the projects, and all the various engagements that your teams can be doing on the fly. You can be waiting to get in a meeting room and actually respond to a project. You can actually be getting onto a flight and be able to text a message, to communicate within the application a task that your team should deal with. You can finish having coffee with a potential partner and actually, get into the application and create a new task. My favorite task is Asana. Asana is free for up to 15 users for the standard version. Of course, there are other applications such as Trello, Google Tasks, and Basecamp. Another facet which is critical for entrepreneurs is, I think every entrepreneur wants to go to bed knowing how much came in and how much went out of the pot. In fact, most would rather each time they open their phone, check, how much is in their balance. So your money manager is quite critical. You will be able to account for your money, including reporting that may be required for your statements. I did hear Aboyeji and Fope also speak around the ability or the importance of presenting your information, because investors feed off this information. And most importantly, to deal with fiscal issues such as your taxes. And again, here, my favorite app is Wave. It also comes free. It's got a lot of functionalities, and it's also simple to use. There are other similar apps such as QuickBooks, FreshBooks, Zoho, and of course, recently, I think about 2 years ago, we saw Sage create a version for Africa, which is costing in selected markets currently as little as $20 a month. So with projects moving and money flowing, an entrepreneur never stops to think about how to grow their business and meeting people for opportunities. But if these ideas are kept in the head, they'll probably be forgotten. And if discussion points are not documented, there's the theory that says you lose 20% of that memory every day. So there are apps such as Evernote, free for the standard version, which allow you to have a personal secretary in your pocket. At any time before you sleep, you can document. In a meeting, you can record. At a coffee place, a marker in the field can speak to the farmer, document this, automatically post it into your project manager, and have a team start working on a solution for the farmer. Another important element is all this information you come across and create needs to be stored. Usually entrepreneurs have a crisis when one of the key people, they depend on either stops coming to work, or unfortunately, maybe a laptop with vital information and documents gets lost. This is where it is important to have cloud-based solutions, as Philip was talking about, and the efficiency that they bring, including that they allow for you to access this everywhere and that they're affordable. So you can actually be going to an investor pitch, forget your laptop at home, arrive, be able to download your pitch deck at the premises from your phone and start presenting. We know that there are various applications such as Dropbox, which are available on the go. My favorite app is, of course, Google Drive. Why? Because it costs about $5 a month, but more importantly, it gives you additional value. One, you can be able to enjoy the Google Suite, which allows you to email, to do your presentations, your Excel sheets for your business that you are modeling your numbers. And also importantly, it has got Team Suite. So you can actually split, within that same $5 to departmentalize your documents into sales, into ordering stocks, etc., and be able to refer to it at any time on the go. The last one that I would like to highlight is people. There is engagement that is required with customers, with partners and employees. And the application that I find favorite is WhatsApp for Business. It's a great tool as it has linkages with your social media pages. It now has a marketplace, and soon that marketplace will speak to your Facebook marketplace to be able to showcase your business, your products or services as it may be. And you can be able to tap into that large attention economy that both WhatsApp and Facebook carry. I do know that on this call, either we all have WhatsApp or we know someone with WhatsApp. So based on my favorite picks, and of course, if you look at this, it's actually costing about $10 a month to be able to run your business effectively and efficiently. This means skipping a luncheon and you actually reinvest in your business to be productive. Or differently put, I think, Phillip spoke about, cloud. For example, to have an on-premise server for a small business, it might cost you anywhere around $500 all the way to about $2,000. But looking at digital-based solutions, given the ones I've presented here, you are reducing that $1,000 to almost $120 a year, which caters for the next 10 years of your business. More importantly, all these applications being cloud-based are scalable. And obviously, as your business scales, you can also then enter into the non-standard versions. I'll then want to move on to the social payments space and trends. I think here my main highlight would be to just say that we've seen that there has been a move of the customer spending time in a digital place that we now call the digital community. And various applications now call these communities, Facebook community, etc. It is important that businesses create products that meet the community. And more importantly, play in the community on platforms where there's already payment rails so that the businesses can collect their money from those customers. We've seen the likes of similar social payments apps such as WeChat and Grab, and more importantly, coming to Africa, the Sasa application that I manage, which we launched in 2019. And over the past maybe 4 weeks, we've seen the launch of M-Pesa super app, and last week, the VodaPay super app. I would like to then, answer the question that, okay, fine, you're telling us about social payments, but what does this mean for us as SMEs or entrepreneurs? The first thing is the marketplace has shifted. So, customers used to visit businesses. It was a physical marketplace, and there was some transition into e-commerce, but now, businesses need to go to that digital community I spoke about, where the customers actually spend their time, which is the social commerce. In Africa, interestingly, more commerce is done on the mobile using Facebook or WhatsApp groups in terms of buying products than actually e-commerce platforms. And it just makes sense that for every business person, you then design your business to be where the customers spend their time. The other piece I would want to highlight in closing of this section is ultimately an SME has to be able to get the money from the customer and get their product to the customer in an efficient manner. And the customer is a digital customer that exists everywhere. So imagine a customer comes to your business with a MasterCard and you don't have a MasterCard accepting or acquiring point of sale. You've lost a sale. Imagine the customer comes and they've got an M-Pesa wallet and you don't have an M-Pesa business wallet. You've lost a sale. Imagine customers are chatting about agriculture, education, or health industry on the social media, and you cannot obtain insights or target that particular base because you are not in that space. You've lost a sale. Imagine there are customers who are in another country and are interested in your product, but they have nowhere to know about you because you are not on the digital platforms. Again, you've lost a sale. So you don't need to lose a sale because there's an app for that. Sosai I would like to close off with Sasai, the business I work for. We have built a marketplace where producers and consumers meet. The businesses are able to engage customers in a more colorful manner. Typically, most businesses used to use bulk SMS, etc. But now you can use pictures, audio, video, and actually be able to do a two-way interaction in terms of supporting your customer. Beyond that, the big data that runs in terms of the platform allows for us to create the necessary algorithms that give you insights into your business, again, respecting the general data protection regulation laws. And more than that, we are also able to give unsecured microcredit to the merchants that are operating on the platform. You can also push your product into the marketplace through digital advertising, promotions into that same economy. And lastly, we've created payment rails which allow you to be able to take any type of payment from your customers, whether it's card, cash, or it is a mobile wallet, and also including the various type of payment service providers that are found here on the continent. I thank you.
Wow, what an insightful presentation. Thank you so much, Tapera, for that. And I think I got very excited and I was actually dancing on my chair when we were talking about the other ways in which businesses fail. Earlier, we were talking about how in South Africa, for example, 5 out of 7 businesses fail within the first year because of funding. And now you spoke about how lack of planning, limited tracking of finances, poor management of the business, and even limited knowledge of the operating environment also form part of the reasons of that failure. And I think you kept on saying over and over again, there's an app for that. You don't need to worry about who's going to do project managing or track your money or track your ideas or manage your ideas or just manage your files. I saw these people on the chat room were talking about how they are content creators and all of that, and their businesses are around that. So you need systems and apps. There's an app for that, for you to be able to manage your files and to be able to run your business better. Thank you so very much for that insightful conversation. Please stick around. We're now going to do a very short Q&A. We have a lot of questions that have been coming up on the chat room now. And I think one of the first ones that I want us to tackle, I think, Phillip, you can also lend an answer here. The question is, what is the connection between big data and cloud? And the person says that they recently saw a lot of cloud services on advertisements, but their businesses is in the agricultural sector. So this is a traditional industry. How does the cloud benefit people like that within the traditional spaces?
Yeah, I think Professor mentioned one thing very important. Any innovation today, even though it's in a very traditional business like agriculture, you still use technologies, right? So, I mean, you manage information. This managing information means computation power. In cloud, that is where you have variety of computation power and also storage and networking. So I think in Breakout, there's no benchmark or there's no saying that you have to up to this layer, you can have cloud. I think there's one question saying that my business is only 1 to 5 people in my company. Can I use cloud? There's no barrier or hurdle saying that, right? As long as you have a need of processing information, as long as you have a need of storing data, you have a need of using a network for people to access to your service, you can use cloud. There's no barrier for that. Then what is the link between big data and cloud? I think big data is basically, cloud is a foundation for big data. Why? Because once you have your business on cloud, then all the information or all the data, all the information you have collected will be accumulated on the cloud. Then on top of that, you can apply a big data technology, no matter is the Hadoop EMR, or you can use some proprietary from Amazon or from Alibaba to process those data has been accumulated under your cloud, under your account, I mean. So that is the link between that. Cloud is a foundation to save the data for you, and the big data is the engine you ride on top of your infrastructure to process your data.
Yeah, thank you so very much for that. While I still have you, Phillip, there's another interesting one. In South Africa, just on the 1st of July, the Protection of Personal Information Act was passed. So everyone who's collecting any sort of data online has some stringent rules to make sure that they protect the privacy of the people. And one of the people that we have on here is asking about how they say that they're very interested in monetizing data. And how do you think an entrepreneur with a big e-commerce site and is offering services and selling to various products, how can they make money from the data? Also, bearing in mind the legal implications around privacy, etc., that we're seeing rising on the continent.
Yeah, I think in terms of regulation, every country or a different region, they have the laws. For example, in Europe, we have GDPR. Then in Middle East, every country have their own laws. Even in South Africa, in Turkey, you have KVKK. So the fundamental thing is you have to follow the regulation, right? So how the data should be stored, how the data should be transferred. Is it encrypted or is going to be ciphered or some way? And how the data is being interpreted, right? This is the regulation. They define different roles. They define about who is going to be a data controller, who is going to be a data processor, and as different role of handling the data, what kind of principle you should follow. So this is a very fundamental thing as a cloud service provider, as a user owner of the data, you should do. But when we talk about data monetization, I think the concept here is very important that how you use the data. We monetize data doesn't mean that we sell the data or we expose the data to the third party. We are trying to use the data within my system to try to understand what is my customer's preference so I can serve them better, right? One of the cases I mentioned just now, we talk about personalized recommendation. So a lot of e-commerce website today, when you go to the website, so what they're trying to do, they're trying to analyze what you have browsed, what are the pages you have clicked in the last 1 month or something. So based on that, they are able to predict what you are looking for and what are probably the item you will buy. So they will always put the highest potential product on the top of the page or at the easiest place for you to click. So this is the way we're trying to monetize. We're not trying to say expose the data or trade the data, but we try to interpret the data, to translate the data into an informative or useful way or valuable way so that we can use that analytic data to upselling or cross-selling. This should be the manner we do monetization of the data. I think this is a very standard practice. I think we have a lot of ways to discuss, depends on which domain you are. You are in agriculture, you are in e-commerce, or you are in fintech. We have different algorithms to use, and we have different use cases to say how we can do within the ecosystem, within the system, in-system monetization of the data, following the regulation, of course. Yeah.
Thank you so very much for that. Tapera, there's a question here for you, and the person says, can I find and optimize mobile solutions areas or region for to receive money? Where can I find this kind of payment solution provider?
Sorry, Ancillar, could you just come again? The network was kind of unstable.
Not a problem. So the person is saying, can I find and customize mobile payment solutions in rural areas in our region? 4G access is limited. We want to use USSD to receive money. Where can I find this kind of payment solution provider?
Yes, so typically most Momo or mobile money players provide that service. But even most of the super application players on the continent, if I can give an example of Sasai or M-Pesa, they've embedded within the application to cater for kind of your 2G regions, that's what we call them. Typically, you then get a lighter version of the application where at least there are 2 things you should be able to do. Communicate, for example, with the store to advise you that your inputs are ready and make a payment. So we've made sure that you've got a lighter version that caters for non-3 and 4G regions. But that's just an example, and I'm happy for her to post on my LinkedIn page, and I can give her more detail. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that, Tapera. Before we close off this session, maybe last words, starting with you, Prof. Any advice or last words of wisdom? You're on mute, Prof.
Sorry. Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies. One thing I would say here is this. Despite all the turmoil and all the paralyses from the north to the south, from the east to the west, Africa is a continent of abundance. So just have that in mind, that all our challenges are actually opportunities. And we are the people that will go and create those opportunities out of them. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so very much. Phillip?
Yeah, I think I really I see a lot of audience saying enjoying the discussion. I already learned a lot from these discussions. I think technology and the cloud is all about open your mind, open your heart, and open your hand. Try to learn, try to catch up, listen to each other. We can always learn something from the conversation. Thank you very much.
All right, and to you, Tapera?
Thank you so much. So you can have your project manager, you can have your money manager on the go. I know that some businesses may be specific and might end up requiring some sort of enterprise resource platforms. But I believe that these pillars I've shared definitely take care of the basics, especially for startups. They keep your costs low. They allow you to run your business on the go. And continuously, there'll be more and more solutions that become available and are free and are affordable, because the game, as Phillip shared, is on data. And most platforms will make sure that they're making the platform free as long as you're building a database. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And I'd like to thank all of our guests that we had today and the speakers who shared such insightful conversations. If I'm to just round up the conversations that we've had during the session, starting with the investment session that we had with Inolua Aboeji and Fope, the main things that they spoke about is knowing your market. So if you have your notebook and you just want to take a few notes, I think my notes are also going to help you. First and foremost, know your market. And Ilinua spoke about the 5 commandments, what he calls the 5 commandments. First, seek your customer and capital shall be added unto you. So when you know your market, you'll be able to get the customer because you understand your market. And when you have a customer, investment and the money will just follow you in that way. You must be able to know your story, know how to tell your story and how to talk about your business in a convincing way and an impactful way that other people are able to talk to you or talk to your business rather without you being in the room. Know where your business is. The stage of your business informs what kind of investment you can get and who you can get investment from. And you need to make sure that you have the right messenger. You know, every time people talk about make sure that your name is being mentioned in rooms that you haven't even entered, this is what they're talking about. When you know your business and you know your story, you are able to have people in the room talk about you and your business when you're not even there and you don't even know that the conversation is happening to begin with. And the final commandment from E, he said that every no leads to a yes. It doesn't matter, it's only the yes that matters. It spoke about the over 400 pitches that he made for Flutterwave and only got about 107 investments out of that. And one of the main things Pope touched on was being able to go on this courtship relationship with your investors. So don't just go to an investor because you want money now. Already start looking at the investors that can potentially invest in your business, be it 18 months from now or even 2 or 3 years from now, and start building those relationships, telling them more and more about your business and what your business is about, and that so that when the time comes for you to be able to get investment from them, it becomes even easier. And then on this session, we touched a lot around technology, and Phillip spoke cheaper. You mentioned that you can even get stuff for $10 and make your business cheaper. So make sure that you research on the cloud. I saw a few people didn't understand on the chat session about what the cloud is about and how it works. Most of those things are available online. There's a link that was also shared about what you can get in the offers that Alibaba offers. So please make sure that you just scroll up on the chat box. You'll be able to find that link to be able to get more information around that. So be able to use that. And Tapera spoke to us about, there is an app for that. Don't stress, don't spend your time doing things and roles that you don't need to. If you don't need to do it, if you don't need to do it, make sure that you get an app for it and it can do that for you. And you spend your time concentrating on thinking around how you can grow your business and become more competitive and how you can gain more from the market. And finally, Professor spoke to us about numbers. Know your numbers. You know, all of those things that our speakers spoke to us about, they don't matter if you don't know your numbers. Your numbers lead to the answer. So thank you very much for taking part on this session and this event. I hope that all of the information that you gained today will be able to help you. I hope that when we meet next year, you're able to tell us how you implemented all of the information that was shared today to be able to help you grow your businesses. And on that note, from wherever you are in the world, goodbye.